Yo, what's going on, everybody? Today I had the pleasure of sitting down with Olympian, 1500 and mile specialist, and all-around running legend Nick Willis as he's getting ready for his 20th consecutive year of running sub 4-minute miles. He's going to be making that attempt at the stroke of midnight on January 1st at the Armory in New York City at the Tracksmith Midnight Mile Gala. It's going to be a night full of New Year's Eve celebration plus some racing. I'm going to be running in the sub 5:30 heats, and there's going to be all sorts of kind of amateur heats for non-elites, but there's also going to be an amazing undercard of very high quality racing as well. Some of the fastest high schoolers in America will be there, as well as there's going to be a world record attempt for the men's 60-year-old age group mile record. So a lot of fun racing that's going to be had. We talk all about this event, and we talked about some other stuff as well, like who his celebrity doppelganger is and what are some of his favorite things to eat when he's at an Olympic Village. It was an absolutely fun conversation, so I hope you enjoy my conversation with Nick Willis. Good morning, Nick. Thanks so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to us today, and welcome to the YouTube channel.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
It's great to see you again. I got a chance to meet you for the first time in Chicago for the marathon, and then I think we bumped into each other again at New York. So it's good to get a chance to actually sit down and talk to you a little bit more.
Yeah, no, and I've actually been starting to watch your YouTube channel since then, so that's been a lot of fun. And yeah, it's impressive the amount of followers you have, and I like the content, so hopefully this contributes to it, perhaps.
Awesome. Yeah, well, this video will be going out tomorrow. And so everyone will get a chance to see it. And it's very flattering and very nice of you to say that you like the content. You didn't have to say that, guys. I didn't tell him to say that before.
No. I'm excited to become part of the community. Don't worry.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, first, let's start off talking about the big race that you've got coming up January 1st. It'll be like right after the stroke of midnight. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it's funny to say January 1st because I see this as a New Year's Eve event. But the whole purpose is that if I wait till the stroke of midnight, it counts as 2022. And the big goal and the big carrot for me, I'm 38. I've been a sort of an international track athlete for the last however many years. It's hard to have goals to set for myself anymore. But I'm trying to break 4 for the 20th consecutive year. Man, it's crazy. I can't even believe that I've been taking it that serious for that long. But yeah, the mile means a lot to me. It's something I grew up as a New Zealander chasing the traditions of all of the great New Zealanders who are world record holders and Olympic champions. And here's my chance to sort of hopefully get up aside their names, John Walker, Jack Lovelock, Peter Snell, and sort of keep a world record going for our great country of New Zealand.
That's fantastic. And you already currently have the record for most consecutive sub 4 miles. Is that right?
I do, but 19 years doesn't really sound right. Right?
Right.
19's a really strange number.
Sure
even
is,
19-year-olds, they're all excited to turn 20. Normally, you always want to be younger, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so 20 seemed like the right amount. And it really was the one thing I needed. I took a long break after the Tokyo Olympics, and I was not motivated to go for runs. We went out to Yellowstone for a few weeks. I only went for 2 runs when I was there. But then once fall started happening, I saw that this was a potential opportunity. I was like, all right, let's get back to training. And you need those carrots out in front of you, as I was saying.
That's fantastic. And for this, I guess, January 1st or the New Year's Eve event, you won't be running this 4-minute mile or sub 4-minute mile attempt yourself. You'll have some pacers with you on the evening.
Yeah, our race is going to be capping off a whole evening, which is going to be a lot of fun. We can talk about that a little bit as well. But my particular race is more of an exhibition type event. Everyone in the race there is to try and assist me or people who have assisted me this fall. So it's mostly my training partners or people who I have trained with. So the 2 pacemakers, people might recognize their names, perhaps Hobbs Kessler, the high school record holder in the 1500 and the mile, and Mason Ferlick, who was an Olympian in the steeplechase for the US this year. They're going to be my pacemakers. They're fit because they just ran a 4-minute mile yesterday as part of a training workout. Right. And then the other guys in the race are guys that I am currently training with or have trained with in the past who have never broken 4 themselves. So I'm like, hey, hop on the train, get as close as you can. Let's see if you can do it as well. So Mitchell Black, Luca Chatham, and Jordan Cross are also doing it. So it'll be a small race, but that way we can control the environment a little bit more. There's less uncertainty if there's people I don't know who might be trying to push and shove. I don't want any of that for this race. But let's just get the time out of the way.
Very, very, very cool. And so the rest of the event, there'll be lots of other races. I'm going to be hopping in to the sub 5:30 community heat. I haven't run. I'm the exact opposite of you in running. I haven't run a timed mile since maybe 1995. So it'll be my first like actual attempt at getting a mile race with an official time in there. So
what footwear do you go with on a 200-meter banked track for a mile at a 5:30 pace?
You know, I have no idea. I was going to ask you for some advice on that later on.
Are you willing to spike it up, or I would probably just stay with one. The new racing flats are pretty fast, and at that pace, those would be ideal probably.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because I'm not fast, but I think maybe I was thinking about maybe putting some spikes on just for the kind of psychological benefit to feel a little bit faster on the evening. But definitely, it's one of the events and times that I don't really have a lot of shoes for in my rotation. I have tons of shoes, but everything's kind of marathon and half marathon oriented. So,
well, I mean, the new super shoes are pretty amazing, even over the mile on the road. But I'm wondering, like, when you try and turn a corner in those things, you're so elevated, right? That's like you're on stilts. So to take in those tight corners, does the banking alleviate that issue? Does it feel like you're still on the flat? I don't know. Is there like a balance or a stability issue? Maybe you have to test that out. Head down to the armory and check it out first.
Yeah. I mean, maybe I'll try to get in a couple of reps early. But so right now I'm thinking about picking up a pair of the Takumi Sen from Adidas because that's nice and low, but it still has some carbon rods in there. I have no idea if that's technically legal for an event of this kind of surface and distance, but I mean, I'm just...
You're not trying to qualify.
Yeah, I'm just an old dude.
You're not having to worry about formal rules. This is a fun event. This is a party. It's a New Year's Eve gala. The whole purpose of this event is to raise awareness and funds for the Tracksmith Foundation. Our executive director, Russell Dinkins, has done incredible work helping reinstate recently cut college track and field programs. We want to double down on those efforts, whether your shoes are legal or not. It's for your own personal satisfaction that you're doing this. So we're gonna have a bunch of races. We're gonna have kids races, youth races, community races like yourself, but also some of the best high school milers in the country are going to be here in the women's race. The three young, I guess they're girls, aren't they? In the high school girls race, the three girls who qualified for the Olympic trials as high schoolers, Roshan Willis, Juliet Whitaker, are going to be there in this race battling it out. They're all 800-meter runners, so stepping up to the mile, so that's going to be fun. Maybe someone else can take their scalp and be the next big thing as well.
Wow. I mean, that's a pretty big lineup, and I didn't know that before just now, so I'm very excited to hear that because I'll be kind of like, I think, wearing two hats. One is to go and enjoy the event and just hop into a race, and then the other is I'm definitely going to want to make sure I got the cameras out and taking it all in and seeing a race like that. I don't know one other time I'll be able to see that kind of firepower in a single heat.
The big question, will you be wearing a GoPro on the dance floor?
I probably, the one race that I've run in like the last 4 or 5 years where I haven't brought a camera with me was when I ran my first steeplechase earlier this year. And I was like, that's probably going to be looked down upon at a USATF like Masters Championship to run with a GoPro, even if it's over like a water pit. So that's when I put it down. But I'm thinking maybe I would wear one just to get a different kind of angle from within the race. One that I knew wouldn't like fall off, that I wouldn't accidentally like stick an arm out and like hit someone accidentally. So I think I'll try to do a little bit of something.
No, that should be fun. What I'm most excited about the event, like whenever I race at the Armory, it's the Melrose Games and the mile is the feature race. It's the last race of the meet, which is great. Like these are the best big crescendo experience and the crowd goes nuts, but you finish the race, you collapse on the ground for 6 or 7 minutes, you could try and do a little cool down, and then once you finish that, you wake up from your delirium, the place is empty, everyone's left. There's no one there to like celebrate or like enjoy the evening with, and it's sort of a lonely experience. But this is a New Year's Eve party first and foremost, so we're going to have an after party for a couple of hours after the final race, so that's where you and I can hang out. The races are over and done with, and it's a chance for the athletes and the fans and everyone in between to sort of get on that dance floor together and enjoy the night. So that's going to be a really good time.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. I think that from the track and field world, something that I wish that they could adopt a little bit more from, let's say, the road racing community is more of, well, I wish that there were more events for people that are in my age group in the masters category, or even from a wider variety of age groups. I feel like a lot of people think that once you're done with like high school, unless you're running collegiately, there's no more track and field. So I feel like that should be something that becomes more common, kind of like a weekend 5K. But I also like the post-race party too. Like I'm a big fan of a post-race beer. And so combining like kind of like a track exhibition with like a little bit of a post-race party, I think is definitely a good combination.
And I'm going to be hitting the seltzers pretty hard, so you don't have to be a big drinker to have a good time. Okay. So people can join me on that side of the fence too.
I mean, I'll have to be driving home afterwards. I'll back to my sister's house. My family will be down in Connecticut. So after the race, I'll stick around for a little while for sure, but I'll join you in some of the seltzers.
Cool.
About the foundation though, let's talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
When did Tracksmith start thinking that this was something that needed to be a little bit more formal? Because Russell is an extremely effective human being. I don't know how he has the energy to do what he's doing. He's like single-handedly, I don't want to say single-handedly, but it seems like he's spearheading the charge to save all these programs. Like at what point did Tracksmith start getting involved in conversations with him to create something with a little bit more structure?
Well, I'll say first and foremost, the way Russell gets everything done is that every meeting I've ever done with him, when it's just him and I, he's eating a bowl of cereal or pasta or salad or something, because he's got to eat when he's having meetings all day. Yeah. So the ones that are more casual, he'll make sure he's eating on the fly. So that's super impressive. No, but last year I was fortunate to jump on a call with Russell, just be a fly on the wall as the University of Minnesota was trying to figure out how they were going to successfully turn the tables on that their program had just been cut. And so some people brought William and Mary together with Minnesota because William and Mary was in the same situation. They said, hey, let's learn from the situation at the university, at Brown University, who had successfully done it, and Russell had led that forefront. So I was watching Russell and the people from Brown University explain what had happened, and I realized, wait a minute, Russell didn't even go to Brown. He was a Princeton grad. What's he got involved with this? And it was just that he had a passion to fight this fight. I thought maybe we're going to get behind this guy. So we started an event last year. We called it the Alumni Championships. It was during the pandemic where we didn't think there was going to be any college cross-country racing. We had a virtual race, and people would represent their college, and all the funds that we raised went towards supporting Russell. We didn't have a formal foundation in place back then because it takes longer to actually go through the formalities of that. But that was always our vision and goal, was to formalize that and make Russell a definite pillar of that vision. And so his work justified it absolutely. And we were excited to formally announce him as our executive director just several weeks ago.
Very cool. And so you mentioned that it takes some time to get all these things together. I think currently the Tracksmith Foundation is 501c3 status pending. Is that right?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, great. But that's something that's in the works, and that's ultimately the direction where it wants to become its own foundation.
That's just a formality at this stage. And for people who are wanting to donate now, like, their donation will be retroactively from the IRS's standpoint. They can be retroactively tax deductible, or there are other workarounds where we can have a donor, a sponsor donor, where you use a middleman per se, and then it automatically then gets transferred into our foundation, and it's still automatically deductible from that standpoint. So there's ways to manage that process, but it's just getting all of the T's crossed and the I's dotted at this stage.
Okay, very cool, very cool. You mentioned that you're going to be running the race with Hobbs Kessler and Mason Furlick. You guys are all part of the very nice track club, which is, I think, one of the best names for a track club that I've ever heard.
You know about us? I'm impressed. Thank you. I subscribe. We're just learning at getting this whole YouTube game going.
I've been a subscriber to the channel since, I think, some of the earlier days of the channel.
And I just thought it was a really nice name for the track club and for the YouTube channel. But I can't remember where interview I was listening to you talk about where the name actually comes from. And I was wondering if you could I think a lot of my audience probably already
Did it surprise you?
But it did. I had no idea that's where it came from. And I liked the name of the track club even more after hearing the story.
Well, my coach, Ron Warhurst, he's quite the character.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Vietnam veteran, and he's 77, but he doesn't act a day older than 35. He, for all the time I've ever known him and every other athlete that I've ever spoken to that he's coached over the years, his one thing that he always watches when we run is our arm carriage. Like, he determines all of our running form based on how we're carrying our arms. And he's either saying, relax your shoulders or swing your arms or loosen up or lean forward a little bit more. But if you're doing it right, he'll say, very nice. So like, you're always looking to hear this like coined phrase that he'll say, very nice if you run past. Very nice, Nicholas. And so one year when the US Olympic trials were down in New Orleans, he got a dare to go and get a tattoo. And so, of course, what's he going to get tattooed in a place that no one else can see? He got very nice tattooed right there on his right butt cheek. So,
oh my goodness,
that was immortalized. But every time we ever had uniforms made up from Nike at the University of Michigan, he would always then go take it to the local embroider and get very nice embroidered onto the back neck of the racing jersey, so that whenever we're racing in cross country, you could see your teammate in front of you that you're trying to hang on the back of, and you'd read very nice, and it would remind you to keep your arm action just nice and perfect.
I love that story. That's just absolutely amazing. And I love that it's been able to be carried through, and then the story will kind of live on through the very nice track club. But tell me a little bit about like the YouTube channel. Like who's driving that? Like I'm guessing Coach is not the one driving. Like, let's make a YouTube channel and let's get some content. So like, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, what is really cool about the YouTube channel is it's the content creator and the person who manages it all is not a runner. It's actually Ron's son. His name is Luke. Ron was 60 years old when Luke was born. And so Luke, well, maybe 59, because Luke's 19 now. He's a sophomore at the University of Michigan, and he's a race car driver. Like, he's only like 2 steps away from NASCAR. He's very, very talented race car driver, and he's interested in content and all of that side of things from that sport. But him and Hobbs Kessler are also best friends because they went to high school together and hung out, and Ron started coaching Hobbs. So they're almost like brothers. So Luke just started creating content just for Hobbs before he became a star, and then he happened to become a star through that process. And so we started telling him to come down and down more and more. And what I like about it is that he seems to understand that it's not the actual intervals that are most interesting. It's all of the other stuff around the training group. So sure, he captures shots of our workouts, but he's not getting every detail of every single rep. That can be interesting to a very select niche, but for continuous content, it's about learning about the different people behind the scenes. And as someone who watches a lot of equivalent YouTube channels in other areas of the world, so I follow a couple of skateboarding channels, that I'm more interested in the guys who aren't the best skaters in the group because their personalities come through. And so I'm curious to see how that evolves as Luke is able to dedicate a little bit more time to it.
That's awesome. So like, if as someone who follows kind of the skate world, you're probably very familiar with the whole running joke of Tony Hawk being like confused for Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
Do you ever get like, hey, do you know that you look a lot like Nick Willis?
I never get that, but at least 20 times a year I get, hey, you're not, man, you look a lot like Steve Nash. That's because I go to Arizona quite a lot as well, and to Flagstaff for training camps, and Steve Nash is sort of a guy that is known from the Phoenix Suns.
Definitely, that's so funny.
That's the one that people like take a second and take at me on.
Oh man, that's amazing. So I think that's definitely going to have to become like a big thing. Every time people see you, they're going to say, "Are you Steve Nash?" Hopefully that catches on. Amazing. let's shift gears a little bit. And it seems like talking about the 20th year that you're going for the sub 4 mile. It seems from some other interviews that I've heard of you that you've been talking about doing a lot of trail running as a way to help kind of extend your longevity because it's just easier on the body. Do I have that right?
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a motivation out of longevity. It's just I always would get injured in periods of the year when I wasn't on trails. If I was just running on a flat surface, it could be soft surface, it could be on grass even, or on the roads or whatever. But if it was dead flat, I have imbalances in my running stride. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. So if I'm repeating the exact same steps for 90 miles a week, those imbalances get exposed. But when I'm on single track trail where every single step is slightly different, then you're distributing that imbalance in a much more varied way. And I was never getting injured in those situations. So yeah, I've always sought out single track trails, for that reason, and because it's more fun, to be honest. Like, there's agility involved. You're not sort of paying attention to your watch. You're just trying not to land flat on your face. So we chose the house that we live in here in Ann Arbor. So we're like 200 meters from the single track trail system. I can run 12 miles out my door without crossing my step every single day. And anytime we travel, we always go exploring, looking for those sorts of trails because it's fun as well.
That's very cool. Have you put any trail races in your future?
I've never thought about doing a trail race. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't do it. I just honestly, like, it's hard. Like, I love my family and my kids and I want to do stuff with them, but there's a couple of things I'm like, I have secret desires to go do on, like, get away on a guy's weekend away and have time away, right? And running is not one of those things. I'd like to go on a snowboarding trip to Japan or go to watch a Pistons game at an away game or something like that. But like, I go on enough running trips. It'd be a pretty big burden to place on my wife just for a running trip. But maybe when my kids are a little bit older.
Very, very cool. When you are on those trails, what kind of shoes are you running? Just your regular daily trainers, or do you have trail shoes that you like? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, that's the funny thing. I always sort of semi-snicker or laugh when I go into like REI, or I don't often go into running shoe stores. But like, you see all of these like hardcore like trail shoes. I'm like, wait a minute. Or when people go hiking, I'm like, but I do 90 miles a week on many of these more challenging trails than that. I'm just wearing regular old shoes. Sure, I do slip over sometimes if I get into muddy sections, but if it's dry, I've never had a problem with regular training shoes.
All right. And can you give us kind of a sense of your 90-mile weeks? Like, what kind of shoes are you running in?
I normally go for the most cushion as possible, especially in the forefoot. So I do not touch my heel on the ground, even if I'm running 8-minute pace per mile. Like, my heel literally cannot touch the ground when I'm running because I have just really locked up ankles. I just don't have any dorsiflexion. So I need a shoe with a lot of forefoot cushioning, and that normally, because they always make shoes to also include heel cushioning with the toe drop, I have to go for the one with the most overall cushioning to give me any at all up front. I was sponsored by Reebok for 8 years and then Adidas by 7. So I always just went for whatever their most cushioned shoe is. And now I'm sort of on the last dregs of my leftover Adidas shoes from when that deal ended up a couple of years ago. So I'm running in some like Ultraboosts at the moment. They're not even like, those ones aren't even specifically designed for serious running, but that's what I've got left in my cupboards. I refuse to pay money for shoes because I never have had to.
That's amazing. So if anyone ever tells me that Ultraboosts aren't for running, I'll just refer them to Nick Willis. I mean, I'll just say like, look,
I did an 18-miler in them the other day.
There you go.
Now the ones without laces, like just the slip-on ones.
Really? No laces, Ultraboost, 18 miles. Nice. That's amazing.
Well, no tongue, sorry. There is like
a
very like casual lace, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's absolutely amazing. And so like that 90 miles a week, is that like a peak week mileage? Is that something generally you're kind of in that range all year round? Can you give us a sense of what a mile
that was
is?
at the peak. Okay. Yeah, that was at the peak of my career. I'll be honest, like I've only hit 70 once this fall. Normally I'm probably being more in the 55 mile range now these days. it seems to be the sweet spot where I can get fit, but also have lots of energy to do whatever else I want to do in the week, whether it be other recreational sports or playing with my kids or getting my work done. Once I start getting over 70, 75, then other things start having to like be sacrificed because recovery becomes paramount and all of that. So if I do a 55-mile-an-hour week, I still get in a really good long run. I still get in 2 good workouts, but my recovery days just become a lot less about getting in sneaky mileage. When I was doing 90-mile weeks, I would still do a 10-miler and a 5-miler double on my recovery days. Whereas now it will just be a 7-miler as one run. So that's where like those extra miles get lost.
Yeah, I mean, that's incredible. Like, I'm having a hard time imagining needing to run that many miles a week as someone that runs a mile. But I mean, I guess that's what it takes.
You don't need to run a mile, but like if it helps you improve by 1 second, the difference of 1 second could be winning a medal or becoming 9th in the final.
Sure.
Like it's a whole world apart in terms of like your earning potential and that sort of thing. So yeah, that's where you have to make those life sacrifices to allow you to do that and still recover.
Now, one other thing that I wanted to touch on for today is the fact that you've been to many different Olympics over the course of your career. And something that I have very recently become obsessed about in the Olympics, other than the sport, the competition, all like the Olympic things, is the Olympic Village and the food that's available at the Olympic Village. You've been to many different Olympics, experienced many Olympic villages. Is there one that stands out as particularly good or bad or anything that kind of jumps to mind?
I definitely think Japan or Tokyo most recently had the best food of any Olympics I've been to. Particularly because Asian food is by far the easiest to mess up or the most delicious if it's done well. And being a host country in Japan, then it was great. I mean, Beijing is in Asia also, but I had a lot more caution when I was in Beijing. Being in China, there was a lot of word out there like, well, there could be tainted beef or whatever, like the equivalent of the Shelby Houlihan situation with you could end up getting tested positive for human growth hormone or something. So I was a lot more cautious about that. But you could see like 80% of the people in the village in Japan were going for the Japanese food every day. Like that was unbelievably good. And it was healthy as well. The most disappointing thing though is that in Rio, up until the Rio Olympics, there was McDonald's available for free. Yeah. And that becomes sort of like the fun thing that all athletes do after their games finish. So there's accounts of like unbelievable amounts of chicken nuggets or like cakes being eaten by athletes after their competition is over, right?
Yeah.
In Rio, I was like finally going to get my chance to like indulge. And we didn't get back from the doping control and media and stuff till 2 a.m. after my race. And McDonald's, because my race was the last night of the games, McDonald's had closed for good. And there was like a salad bar left open. It was like the last thing available. And I was like, yeah, right. I just won an Olympic medal and I got to eat salad. It's my like first reward food. It's like, come on.
That sounds terrible. Oh my goodness.
But what the New Zealand Federation does really, really well, and especially this is really cool for me being based in America, is we set up our own sort of like casual lounge in the village where our apartment tower is. And at the base floor, they'll have like casual bean bags, a viewing area to watch sports and stuff. But they have unlimited supplies of all your favorite New Zealand goodies. So New Zealand does like cookies. We call them biscuits really well. So like 50 different varieties of all of the best different cookies or biscuits you could think of, all of the different gummy worms and all of the special candies and all of that different sort of stuff. So my coach, Ron Warhurst, who's American, was in the village with me this time, and he was eating like 3 or 4 bags of all the different gummy worms every day. I was like, Ron, you're going to have a heart attack before my race even takes place. But yeah, the food was really cool. In Japan, I will say that probably the most delicious thing I had, and my coach, Ron, he had 6 of them every single day, was the chocolate milk. It was unbelievably good chocolate milk. They give you speaking of drinks, they give you, like, because Coca-Cola is a sponsor, they give you this magnetic scanner that you wrap around your with your credential lanyard, and basically every single Coke machine all around the village, you just pop it up and you get whatever out of there, all of the different types of drinks. So that's sort of a cool experience you take for granted once you're out of it as well.
That's amazing. I love hearing all the different athlete stories in terms of what kind of catches their eye when they're in the Olympic Village and there's like those different food options available. Before your race, did you have very regimented, or even then were you like, I'm going to try some of this Japanese food in the Tokyo Olympic Village?
No, I've eaten every type of food there is, so I know what my body responds to. Basically, the only thing I don't like to eat the night before a race is something really greasy. I love Mexican food, but I won't eat stuff that I know is deep fried the night before. My go-to is pizza the night before a race.
Okay.
And so in the village, I think I did a post of it on Instagram. You might be able to find. I had pizza in Japan. I think it had like courgette, sliced courgette on top of the pizza the night before my race with some salad. So it's not that hard because you get sick of the food. It's the exact same food every single day. So you get that out of your system the first couple of days, and then you pretty much stick to your routine. But I'm not a coffee drinker, but like the last couple of years, I finally accepted that it's okay for me to have a coffee before a race, because there's scientific research that caffeine will assist you. Especially, we were coming from Honolulu. We'd based ourselves in Honolulu for 2 weeks before the games. We weren't allowed in the village until really close to your competition, so adjusting to jet lag was quite a big challenge. So I was going to have coffee before each of my races, and at the warm-up track next to the stadium, they had like a little coffee area or whatever, and I asked my coaches to get me my coffee for the heat. They got me, it was fine. And then the second one, they didn't tell me, but there wasn't any coffee left. And so, but there were just the dregs out of like 6 different cold things, and they just mixed it all up and gave it to me, and they never told me, because I hate the taste of it anyway, because I'm not a coffee drinker, so I didn't know the difference. But they said after the race, they said, yeah, like that's probably the worst coffee that's ever been consumed. It's like scraping out an ashtray and trying to get a roll your cigarette out of that, right?
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. So funny. All right. Well, I don't have anything else for you today. I've been seeing some of the workouts from the Very Nice Track Club YouTube channel. It looks like you're getting fit, getting ready for the race. I'm looking forward to seeing you New Year's Eve and into the New Year's. And good luck to you.
Yeah, let's go hang out. Let's go have a party, and you guys come on, join us down there. Check it out on tracksmith.com. You can get all of the event info, and hopefully have a good old time at the Armory.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much, Nick.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Nick, for setting aside some time to speak with us as he's getting ready for his 20th consecutive year of sub 4-minute miles. Remember, if you want to witness this event in person, you can do that if you're going to be in the New York area for New Year's Eve. There's tickets still available for the Midnight Mile Gala. All the proceeds go to a fantastic charity, the Tracksmith Foundation, which is going to help make sure that track programs stay alive and well throughout the country. And it's just going to be a super fun night. I'm going to be there. Nick's going to be there. All your friends are going to be there. All your running friends anyway. So come and check it out. Let's hang out. Let's have a good time and start off the new year right. I'll post links in the description so you can learn more about the Tracksmith Foundation and its mission. And also, in case you want to buy tickets, or if you can't be there, if you want to throw a couple bucks their way to help support the cause. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?